If you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by portrait photography, or just at a loss of what to focus on to take you to that next level, then come hang with me. I help guide portrait photographers just like you to stay clear and sharp in camera and with your goals. I'm your host, photographer, educator, and weirdly positive mama of four, Emily Supio. And this is the Stay Focused podcast. Photography advice to help you stay focused. Hey there, it's Emily Supio, and thank you so much for pressing play on today's episode of the Stay Focused podcast. Now, I know a lot of you really have this dream to start your own portrait photography business, maybe family photography or senior portraits or maternity or children. And that's really exciting, right? It can be a really, really exciting but challenging venture to start your own business. And it is super common for photographers to experience imposter syndrome. And I know firsthand that I experienced this too when I was first starting to, build and grow my own family photography business. And I can remember in particular one family who was super kind, who had hired me a couple times over a several month period. And I can remember showing up to their session and just thinking, are they going to figure it out? Are they going to find out? And I don't know if I really knew what that was, but I can remember thinking like, are they going to figure out that one, I had an older model camera that I was using, or maybe two, I was still using my dad's camera. I had borrowed a camera when I started my business. And so I would think, are they going to find that out? Or are they going to find out that I haven't been doing this for a while? Are they going to find out that I'm not real? And I remember having these feelings. I can remember the exact location I was at. I remember this family, and I just remember these feelings coming through me like they were going to figure me out, or they were going to find out that I was the imposter. And so if you've ever felt that way, imposter syndrome, it's real. And in today's podcast, I want to explore 3 reasons why photographers, especially new photographers or new photography business owners, feel this imposter syndrome when starting their business. And then I want to offer you some actionable tips, some practical advice on how to overcome those feelings. Because as you probably already know already, those feelings, they're not really good. So let's dive right in today. If you are a photographer who is 100% ready to stop dreaming and start taking action on your photography business, then I have the perfect thing for you. This week, my brand new free on-demand photography business class is open for you. And to access it, all you have to do is head to the show notes wherever you are listening to this podcast right now. Click the link that says free photography business class and you are in. Did I mention this is free? It's on demand, so you can watch at your convenience, and it's less than 40 minutes. So I get right to the point and helping you create and build that business that you've been dreaming about. So I want to talk about the reasons why photographers just like you feel this imposter syndrome. And the first one is really because of lack of experience. Usually you don't feel imposter syndrome when you've been doing it for 10 or 15 or 20 years, or you feel it a lot less. But in the beginning, when you haven't had a lot of experience, maybe your business is new, maybe it's the first client you're working with, or you've only worked with a small handful of clients, or you've only been at it for 6 months or less, or maybe a little bit more than that. But lack of experience is directly related to imposter syndrome. And the only thing that is really going to help with that is more experience, right? But it's about recognizing that, you know what, I am new. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But when you recognize that maybe you just haven't been at it as long as, the person that's been at it for 20 years, when you recognize that and you're like, hey, you know what, I'm okay with that.
I get that and I realize that, and I'm going to address this right now. It's totally okay to be new. Some people might even welcome that, like that. I mean, don't you like to try out new restaurants in your area when they open up instead of going to the same one you've always gone to, or maybe that same restaurant that's been in your town for the past 20 years? Yeah, they've got a lot of experience and they've got a lot of customers, but it's always fun to try out something new and see what else there is out there. And there's clients and there's other people who welcome, that fresh creativeness that you offer as a new photographer. So just remember that when you're feeling that imposter syndrome, or thinking like, what if they find me out? Or what if they figure me out? Just remember that it's because you just don't have that experience, but that's totally okay. All right, the next reason why you and other new photographers feel this imposter syndrome, this is a big one. And this is something that all of us do. I did it too. So I don't want to just call you out and say, hey, it's you that's doing this. No, I did it. All of us do it. And that's comparing ourselves to other photographers out there. We feel like the imposter because we're looking at every single photographer that's out there. And usually we're looking at the ones that seem very successful or are creating work that we aspire to be like, right? And so we're comparing ourselves to those photographers and we're thinking, well, I'm not there yet. My work doesn't look like that. I don't have that many clients. And it's just this comparison game and this comparison cycle. And the only thing that does is creates that imposter syndrome, makes us feel like we're not good enough, or we're not worth it, or we shouldn't be charging yet, or there's no way we can start a business yet. But you've got to realize that when you're doing that, when you find yourself comparing yourself to others, I know this is easier said than done, but stop it. Okay. You've got to recognize that. Stop and make a shift in your mind to say, you know what? I'm inspired by this photographer. This photographer is doing what I like to do, but I don't know their path. I don't know how many years they've been doing it. I don't know their situation beforehand. So I can't compare myself. You can only compare you to you. And when you can start recognize when you're doing that, when you're comparing, and just shift your mindset to, okay, let's compare myself to me. How far have I come since 30 days ago? How far have I come since last year? How far have I come since deciding that, yes, I want to take action and start a business? Like, be proud of yourself. Be proud of those achievements. All right, let's move into another reason why you and photographers might be feeling, other new photographers, not all photographers, but usually newer ones, usually newer to photography business. Why do they feel imposter syndrome? Well, because we have this fear, and it's a real fear. It is the fear of failure. We feel like we are not going to find those clients we want. We feel like we're not going to take these pictures that we're hoping to take. We fear that we are going to fail at this dream that we have. And so we think to ourselves, well, I'm not a professional yet, or I'm not the best yet. And they're kind of excuses that we make because we want to like buffer or soften the blow with that, what if I do fail? And I want you also to rephrase this. So if you're feeling that fear of fail, I want you to think this instead. I want you to think, okay, what if, not what if I fail, but I want you to think, what if I don't even try? What if I don't start? What if I don't put up my website? What if I don't post in this Facebook group searching for clients? What if I don't even start? That, I think, is a lot more fearful and scary than just what if I fail, right? Like, you've got to take action. You've got to at least start. And if you've done that, if you've started your photography business, if you've started how to learn how to take great pictures, if you've started this path on your photography journey, then you did not fail. You did not fail at all. So there is no need to feel like the imposter or have that imposter syndrome, because you're taking action. You're doing something. You only fail when you don't do anything, right? That's what you should be fearful of, is not taking that action and starting and working on your goals that I know you have. Okay. Now, with all of that said, again, I don't want to keep saying to you guys, this is what you're doing. You're doing this, this, and this. And that's just it, right? I don't want to just say all of these bad, negative things that might be going on. And again, I want you to completely realize I did all of these things and I definitely have felt imposter syndrome. But I want to share with you a little more about how to get past imposter syndrome. Okay. So it really starts by recognizing that you have it, right? We've caught imposter syndrome, but making that recognition that, you know what? Yeah, I am feeling these ways, and not ignoring those feelings, but recognizing that you have it. And then acknowledging what you've already done. And I've kind of been trying to sprinkle that in throughout this podcast already, but you've got to really recognize and be grateful and be proud of every single thing you've accomplished up to this point in your photography skills or photography business, no matter how small they seem to be. When you can acknowledge and recognize even the smallest things that you have done to make a difference, to promote growth in your business, to make your dreams happen, then that's going to help you move out of that imposter zone and into that real photographer zone, right? So I want you to even think right now. I want you to try to think of something that you have done, an achievement that you have made that you're really proud of. And maybe that it is just that you have found that first client. Maybe it's just that you have decided that you are going to start that photography business. Maybe it's that you've decided to make a big investment in something in your business. Maybe it's that you're really feeling great with manual mode now. And I could keep going on and on with all of the great achievements and great things I'm sure you've already done already. And you should do that too. So I want you really thinking, and when you do it, smile, be happy, be proud, no matter where you are. If you're listening to me in the car right now, or if you're at the gym, or if you're just kind of hanging out and relaxing because your house is quiet and you're listening, think of those things and really smile. Okay. It really does help. Okay. The next thing I want you to do to release this imposter syndrome is I want you to shift your focus from being perfect to the progress. And again, I keep talking about your progress and being proud of everything you've achieved to this point. What I don't want you to do is think that the end goal is perfection. The end goal is to be perfect. It is not. It is your journey. It is every step along the way, all of that progress that you keep making. If you aim for perfection, then you're going to fail every time. Okay. Because starting a photography business, creating a photography business, growing a photography business isn't about everything always being perfect. And there isn't an end goal either. There's no finish line. There's no, you've made it to the end or X marks the spot or anything like that. There's not an end. It's always going. It's always evolving. You're always going to grow. You're always going to find more success. It's going to continue and continue. So it's not about being perfect. It's about your journey, and it's about being happy and finding all of those great things that you're doing along your path. All right. And then finally, to help you with imposter syndrome and getting past that, it's really important to seek support from either a mentor or a community. And there's a lot of places where you can do this right now. This is one of the biggest reasons why I'm starting and growing my photography coaching company, which I invited you to earlier in the episode. But finding that group of like-minded, positive people that you can bounce ideas off of, that you can ask questions to, that you can just ask for that support, or just say like, hey, this is what I'm doing. What do you think about this? Or it's another pair of eyes to look over your website, or another pair of eyes to look at your photos and say, do these look good? Or what am I doing wrong here? So when you're starting your photography business on your own, a lot seems new and you have a lot of questions. And if you don't have a mentor or a community or somebody to help you out along the way, it's easy to feel very lost. It's easy to feel like the imposter. It's really easy to feel like you're just not good enough. And none of those things are good feelings, right? But when you have that mentor, when you have that support, when you have that group of like-minded people that can say to you, hey, you know what? Stop it. Look at these things that you've done. They can point out the positive things that you have created on your photography journey already. They can show you, you know what? Look at what you're doing here. This is really great. And they can help shift your mind back into like, oh yeah, I'm not the imposter. I've got this. Look at what I've done so far. And so having that support is so important. And I know you've probably heard that saying, there's power in numbers. That is so, so true. And really, we can all learn from each other. And when we have that, it is going to erase your imposter syndrome and just help you with that confidence to just soar in your photography business. All right, we've really covered a lot today. Thank you for being part of the podcast today. I think this was a really important episode and one that I've really enjoyed talking about. I really enjoy talking about this because, like I said earlier, these are feelings that I felt so much. So if I can connect with anyone, if this has helped anyone with their imposter syndrome, then that makes me feel really happy. So I just want to kind of overview again the reasons why you might be feeling imposter syndrome, your experience, comparing yourself to others, and that fear of failure. But I also want to just quick recap how you can overcome imposter syndrome, recognize and acknowledge your strengths. You've got a lot of them. I know you do. Shift your focus from perfection to progress. Okay. Remember, perfection is not the end goal. Remember, there isn't an end goal. It's a journey that's always going. And then finally, seek support from other people. So I'm glad you're listening right now. I'm glad that we can connect in this way right here so I can offer some support to you here. But I encourage you to find even more along your photography business journey. All right, you guys, thank you again for hanging out with me. If you enjoyed today's episode of the podcast or any of the past podcast episodes, I would love if you would head over to iTunes or Spotify or YouTube or Amazon, wherever you're listening to this podcast here today. We are on all platforms, I think now, just about. But if you would head over wherever you're listening, hit the subscribe button and leave a rating and review for the show, I would really appreciate it. That really helps me out. And if you would love to connect even more, head over to Instagram and leave me a DM over there. Let me know what you liked about the show, or maybe a topic you would like to hear on a future episode of the show. I really do like to connect with you. It's really me over there on Instagram. I love to be able to have that connection with you a little bit more. So if you've enjoyed that, or if you have an idea for a future episode, DM me over there. I would really love to hear from you. All right. Until next time, here's to staying in focus, in camera, and with your goals. Bye for now.